The big news in Dexter is the sellout crowd down at the Dexter Armory. Even bigger news is a brand new Moreland Mega Center right out here on Highway 60 West. Ladies and gentlemen, when you need a new car, there's only one place I want to see you, and it's in Dexter, Missouri. I've been out here all day, ladies and gentlemen. I want to introduce you to a brand new sponsor, Autry Moreland, along here with, you know him, the Colorado Kid. Ladies and gentlemen, the greatest selection of cars here, Cadillacs, Chevrolets, Nissans, Autry. Tell them I'm excited. We got 7 acres of cars out here.
7 acres of cars. This is the largest car dealership from St. Louis to Memphis. 7 acres of cars. If we don't have it, you don't need it. Get down here and see it. And folks, we'll get down on that price. Unbelievable price. We got rock bottom prices.
Autry's willing to deal today, so get there, and I mean get there right now for a great deal in Dexter, Missouri. Come on in from Blytheville. Come on up from Jonesboro, Sykeston, all our great fans. Heck, drive in from Cape Girardeau. This is the place you need to buy your new car today.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Retro Wrestling with Gene Jackson. A special episode. It is part 2 of our deep dive into Ozark Mountain Wrestling. Of course, that's Bert Prentice's Jonesboro promotion. But to talk about that, who better than the man who joined us for part 1, and he's going to join us for any subsequent parts. We don't know how long this thing's going to go. We're just going to, keep diving into it, as they say, and it takes how long it takes.
That's what I told the wife last night. I don't know how long it's going to take. I'm just going to keep diving on into it. How about it, Gene? Live from Jonesboro, Arkansas. I had to do that since this is Ozark Mountain Wrestling. Gene, I want, and you can do the same, but I really want to thank everyone. We do a lot of podcasts. I've done a lot of podcasts, over 1,100 now. When we got done that day, I put on Facebook one of my favorite episodes ever to do. It was fun. Then we waited, a couple weeks and put it out. And I mean, it's almost as soon as it went out on your feed, we started getting just such great positive feedback. I thank y'all guys. You don't know how much we're enjoying this promotion. Probably was a bigger deal than we really thought it was, even from when we started talking about it the first part, because so many people said, oh yeah, I watched it. Oh yeah, I watched, especially from the Jonesboro area. I think everybody was watching it.
Yeah, people really come out of the woodwork, and people that you see online talking about wrestling and different old wrestling a lot had never mentioned this. And that's why I was glad we decided to do it, because it's a subject that hasn't been beat to death. It's not, maybe a couple people have ever talked about Ozark Mountain, but I can't find it if they did. So it's always cool to find some new ground to break, because there's not much left.
We had a couple things we touched on last time. Someone sent me a message that said 17 shows a month wasn't a big deal. I want to debate that or say that you're wrong. I'm sorry, but 17 shows for an independent promotion is a big deal. So WWE in the same month that Bert was talking about that did 23 shows. So it kind of gives you a perspective. Also, when I was, and Gene can probably say this too, when we were actually in the business doing shows, we did 2 to 3 at the most every week. So some weeks we got 3, some weeks, so 8 to 11 at the most, maybe probably a month. So this was over double. They were doing that, which was really awesome. I reached out to Rick Burton, whose name we'll mention him a couple of times in this episode. And Rick, I asked him about payoffs and stuff, but Rick really, I thought what he sent me, we talked about this, that Bert went over for these outlaw guys, the local area guys, and used them. But what he said is kind of like, this shows you where everybody was. So he said the payoffs were okay. I asked him about payoffs and anything that I should add to today's show. And he said the payoffs were okay, but it wasn't about the money. Most of us were young kids working a full-time territory with some of the biggest names in the business. I was in the ring with everyone from Mick Foley to Dick Murdoch and many more. You can't put a price on experience like that. So that's that was the spirit of the young guys. And we talked about that. That was part of it that was making it successful. He paid the Tommy Riches and the Ricky Mortons and the Mick Foleys, and then these guys down here, they didn't make as much, but they were on TV and they were working on a regular basis.
Yeah, I mean, that experience and just being able to share a locker room with, guys like Smothers and Morton and Tommy Rich and Buddy Landale, the stuff you could learn just being in their presence, not to mention if you get to work with them, is, experience money couldn't buy for you at that time. And, man, 17 shows a month, like you said, the 10 or 12 guys like you and I would have worked weren't for the same promotion. That's working for, 3 or 4 different promoters, because nobody by that point was running that frequently. But even here, they were probably close to doing as many shows as USWA almost.
My first year with my teams was 99, 2000. It was into that, but the first 12 months we did. The first 9 months we did, I remember this, 100 shows. So that's a lot of shows, but it still is not that 17. That's a lot of shows per month for people, and being on the road with, like he said, honestly, a lot of the shows we did, there was no big names on them. We did outlaw shows, but I always had one of my teams, and I managed one, and then the other team that we were all of us training together, or they were training together. And so we made sure that we were on a show, either first match, last match. I don't care. We just give them some experience. But it wasn't like we had every once in a while, the Buff Bagwells, the guys from the Dyersburg area that were on Power Pro and stuff like that. Derek Kings, people like that you would work shows with. But these guys were Dick Murdoch. I mean, Dick Murdoch watches your match and gives you advice.
Yeah.
My God, you got to listen.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the shows I was working, you'd have maybe like one Memphis, you'd have Brickhouse or Don Bass or, Tommy or Doug or different people would pop up, but not a lot, not every month even. So, I can see why these guys consider this to be a huge feather in their cap to be a part of, what Bert was doing. And with Bert, you never know where it's going, but it usually always gets bigger. But I feel like a lot of times, not to get ahead of this story, but a lot of times that ends up being Bert's downfall was he would get too big for what he started. He starts out I think Ozark Mountain right here is a perfect little scenario. And he always wants to get the TV bigger and get the show bigger. And then it kind of gets too big to be small and too small to be big. And then he usually has to move away from it and then restart, kind of reset back to something the size of Ozark Mountain. And then he goes through that whole process again,
I think that, I was like that in the restaurant business when I ran pizza places. They would put me in a store that was doing horrible numbers, and if I brought the numbers up, and I usually did, pat myself on the back there. If I brought the numbers up to where they're supposed to be, then I was ready to go somewhere else, do the same thing. I mean, I was bored. Yeah. So that's kind of what, but he has a reason. We'll talk about that when we finish this up. The reason he quit Ozark Mountain Wrestling, one of the main reasons. Something else we touched on was the Randy Hales. I don't know if I said it a little bit, but didn't go as, I don't think as deep as Bert does in his book. But there's questions about whether, Eddie Marlin hated him or not. And he's just like, I don't know, but I know, I know Randy did. So Randy was doing some really, to me, underhanded bullshit. But you got to remember Eddie Marlin, Randy, this is Randy's town. But he was calling all these sponsors and these buildings and saying, Bert's going to screw you. Bert's going to screw you. Yeah. He's not going to give you your money. He's not going to, he's just using your money. He's not going to, use it to get people in. And the best I can tell, there is some, Bert always carny, but when it comes to putting people in the buildings and using the sponsorship money the way he was supposed to use it, if you watch one of those shows and you still have the commercials in it, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But Bert did give the sponsors what they were supposed to get. So, interesting thing with the Randy being so defensive because this was, Eddie Marlin's town.
I have a few different clips that we'll plug in probably right here.
Action, ladies and gentlemen, this Monday night at the Jonesboro ASU Armory, 8 o'clock bell time, when the Colorado Kid...
Wait a minute. It's been 1 week. 1 week. Just shut up. It's been 1 week since I challenged the Colorado Kid. You know, I think I'll change his name to Colorado Kool-Aid. Better yet, lemonade. Because what's lemonade made out of, Bert? What's it made out of?
Sugar.
No, it's made out of lemon. And what color is a lemon? It's yellow. It's yellow just like the streak down the Colorado Kid's back. Because he ain't got the guts to come and challenge me, a 150-pound weakling here. He's the big man around here. I got an open challenge. What am I going to have to do? Go to his mama's house, and when she opens the door, just punch that old bat right in the face to get his attention, to tell him that I'm serious? Huh? What's wrong with the Colorado Kid? I think he's like everybody else around here.
Hope you've enjoyed tonight's show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in. And well, my meal from Western Sizzling is finally here. I've been waiting for this the whole show.
It came, and I've got to leave.
No. This is my steak dinner. Terry Pratt, my friend from Western Sizzling, sent over my steak dinner, and I just cannot wait to eat it as soon as we go off the air. Colorado, my T-bone and my bread. Somebody ate my meal. Glenn? See you next week, fans.
Man, that's a wild claim to say that, he wasn't going to deliver on his sponsors, because I think Bert, more than any promotion I can think of, integrated his sponsors into the actual show and would turn the show, a portion of the show, into just a straight up promo for that business, more so than I ever saw USWA or Memphis do. I mean, they would run ads during their show, but they didn't go to that extent that Bert did. I thought that's really where he shined and why he was able to offer value to those local businesses, because they knew, like, oh man, he's gonna go all out to plug this, and he's gonna have, some of them, if they paid the right price, had their banner on the side of the ring where, if it's on the hard camera side, you're looking at that through the whole show. And if you're at the arena, you're sitting staring at the one on your side of the ring the whole time, if they're different from, the others. So yeah, man, I think he did that better than anybody.
Yeah, I love the whole sponsorship deal. And we talked about this last time, where you go into the business and say, hey, for $500 or $1,000, whatever, the whole show is yours. So you get the TV shows. I'll talk your TV show, but when the fans come through the door, they've been able to get free tickets all week. And it's on you per se. You can say, hey, I bought y'all free tickets. And so the business is really in the program. It's everywhere. Everybody knows it's, Chevy night or whatever, Jonesboro Chevy night. And I love that idea. And it worked. It worked a lot. It worked well with everything that he was doing. So even he's talking in the book. I get a little, I think this guy doesn't come in right when it gets started, but the Razorback, it was a mask guy, local guy, but Bert was like, hey, even though we, this is the Red Wolves or the Indians, where whatever it was then, the Razorbacks are huge in Arkansas. I might as well have some guy on here dressed up like a Razorback and call him the Razorback, and just simple stuff like that, and making you think that you was supporting the Jonesboro promotion. That was kind of my, this was my stage of where I got out anything I was doing with the business, no kayfabe sheets, except, sending results and just being a fan again. And enjoyed myself, but I also felt like this is me against Memphis because of the thing I had with Lawler. But it was one of those things where, hey, people can do other promotions. They can get television. And I always loved Jonesboro. Ended up going back to my hometown, moving back when I got married again. But it's my, my hometown. That's the most I've spent in that town, except my hometown is still Missouri.
So let's get back into some talk of some of the feuds that went on in around April of '95. One of the most talked about angles in Ozark Mountain, and one of the most heated feuds of '95 anywhere, really, if you were aware of it at the time, was between Tracy Smothers and Tommy Rich. And this feud really gets going in the spring and summer of '95, and man, just you can find a ton of great promos from both these guys that they cut on each other. And it was just classic Southern wrestling, with Tommy Rich as the heel here. And, Tracy was still the wild-eyed Southern boy that, he played in Smoky Mountain and WCW before they decided to make him a young pistol and all that.
Right.
Rich had just been a top heel in USWA. He was teaming with Doug Gilbert. They were feuding with Lawler and Jarrett, PG-13, Brian Christopher, all the top people in USWA. And then in April of '95, he jumps over to Ozark Mountain to go to work for Burt Prentice. And that was a good get for Burt, because I think for people to see somebody at the level Tommy had always been in Memphis for USWA, to see him come over to Burt's side kind of told people like, oh, okay, this ain't going to be some fly-by-night, Burt's just running a couple shows. Like, that's a pretty big statement by Tommy to come.
Have you talked to Tommy about that, why he chose, or is it one of those things where because he liked Burt so much? Because I know Tommy and Doug both like Burt.
Yeah, the times I've talked to him about it, he said it was just a matter of he felt things were kind of stale in Memphis and didn't really like where things were going for him personally. And, he had saw that Ozark Mountain was really, catching fire and the time, like we talked about earlier, the fact that he was, running all these towns, because boy, payoffs. The reason this promotion was started was because of, like we talked about in the first episode, poor payoffs. And yeah, a guy like Tommy's going to make more than Colorado Kid or Burt Prentice. But if he's the tip top of the card, there's no Lawler to pay. There's no PG-13 Brian Christopher. If it's, kind of him and Smothers on top, he can make more money. So that's essentially why he went there. He said it was, just somewhere new and a little more money than he was making, and kind of send a message to Memphis. Hey, don't take me for granted. I can do other things,
Yeah, we'll talk about their anniversary show and some of the stuff that USWA told the guys if they were going to work that show. But we had, it was almost like Tommy had to make a decision whether he's going to stay with Memphis or because, they booked him for a main event and in both shows. So he had to decide what he was going to do. In that April, Memphis's main feud was Lawler Dundee again, which had drew like 1,100 people, which we know is decent crowd considering the times that we're doing 91 and 92, 93. They weren't doing very well. So 1,100 is still not good, but they did draw that amount of people. But you could see people like, I don't know. The roster for Ozark Mountain was almost equal with the stars. I mean, you got Cactus Jack, Colorado Kid in the main event that night. Tracy Smothers there. The Spiders, Buddy Landell. The Spiders weren't well known then, but then they had the guys like Man Mountain Mike and Rick Burton and everything on the same night. This is the same night that that Colorado Kid beat Cactus to win. We have Lawler against Dundee and Memphis. So it's interesting to see. And it's funny because Memphis, there's this big debate whether WWE's watching AEW. They are. Whether they're watching them or not. But, yeah, they were watching Burt. They were keeping and it turns into why were they were – because Burt was successful. He was very successful at what he was doing in Jonesboro.
Yeah, I'm sure they're wanting to know what the hell's Burt doing that we weren't, that he's coming, fired up Jonesboro, so to speak. This Rich and Smothers feud is kind of some of the wording of this is kind of funny. Tracy Smothers is out there cutting a promo. This is where Tommy Rich first shows up. He comes strutting out there unannounced. He's in his street clothes, and he you can tell by the way he's carrying himself, like, okay, this is definitely heel Tommy. And then he just he cuts this promo on Tracy. Well, looky here, if it ain't old Tracy Smothers, the boy who couldn't hack it in the big leagues and too dumb to know when he's washed up. And it's just like, okay.
Yeah. Well, his first show, Tommy, was the May 1st show, and he teamed, get this, with Buddy Landell against Colorado Kid and Cactus Jack.
Wow.
So, man, what a main event, buddy. I mean, you'd have to at least look at that to say, hey, I'm tagging with Buddy Landell. And Landell was one of our favorites, and apparently Bert loved him. Landell bought a bunch of his robes, which are the vice versa, which I thought was funny, them exchanging robes. But yeah, he comes in and he's in the main event and he's been treated like a star. And I love after I went back and I look at all this stuff, I love what Bert did with Colorado Kid. He put him over as an equal to these guys. And that's what got him so over. He was already, good. Like I talked about, he made money at the gimmick stable. Bert talked about that too. But he, as champion and being put in the ring with all these people, he was a big deal.
Yeah, that's a good point. Back to the Rich and Smothers thing for a moment. I guess this is probably one of those things that I go back and look at through different eyes now. I probably wouldn't have thought much of it at the time, but like this is kind of on I don't know, kind of not exactly the same, but like I've talked about it on a few different shows, and I talked about it with Doug. I've never really got a chance to talk about it with Tommy, but I always questioned, even as a fan sitting in the dorm room in college, the whole promo with Lawler where Gilbert and Lawler are arguing about the Eddie Gilbert Memorial Show, and Lawler's talking about all the these feuds they've had, and Tommy comes out and Doug first says, what about all the stuff we've done for you? You're forgetting about the stuff we've done for you. And Lawler starts naming, oh, you hit me with a car and
right
my head. And Tommy Rich comes out and go, oh, that was fake. Like I always thought that was bad for overall business. Well, here you're building Tracy Smothers up to be, one of the top baby faces, and Tommy struts out here and says, oh, you couldn't make it in the big leagues. All right, so right there, the first words out of your mouth is you consider yourself, you're in the minor leagues now, coming down here, fucking with Tracy, and then you say, you're too dumb to know when you're washed up. So in 2 lines, he's pointed out, I've come down here to this low level, little league show, and you're out here washed up and don't even realize it. And of course, the irony of, I love Tommy to death, but for Tommy in 1995 to say somebody was stuck in the little leagues and washed up is like, oh, dude, you don't want that to come back on you. And right. So of course, Tracy spoke up, called him a no good snake in the grass, and we're off to the races here with the big feud with Tommy. But that was just something that stood out to me when I was rewatching this. I was like, man, like if I'm Bert, I'd be like, hey guys, come on, like don't belittle what we're doing here, because you're knocking yourself. If you're knocking the promotion, you're knocking yourself. So let's try to elevate this thing. But I just wondered if you coming from this newsletter mentality that you had, if you looked at it that way, or if even now, not so much.
The way I looked at it is, if I was looking at it as a fan, that Tommy Rich was wrong about everything. So he's a heel. He's wrong. Ozark Mountain's awesome. This is in Jonesboro. This is my home team. I think that's kind of the way I looked at it. I totally agree with you. I don't like, there was recently an interview on Memphis Wrestling where Eli Knox, I'm a big fan of him, but he talked about how old Mike Jackson is, which he is old, but how old and decrepit and blah, blah. And guess what? Mike Jackson beat him. So stuff like that bothers me. It does bother me, but I think it fit into what they were doing. Hey, you can't make it the big time, but you can come back and say, hey, we are the big time. Look, this is the new promotion in the area, especially in the Northeast Arkansas area.
Yeah, and a lot of people's opinion is, if a heel can say anything because they have no credibility, like you just said, like, well, you can just assume they're wrong and what they say doesn't carry any weight because they're just being an asshole. And I guess there is something to be said for that. But yeah, the Eli Knox thing, that's one of the things that the big issue I have with people using Mike Jackson on a regular basis. Bring him in, as a feature or something. But like, if he sticks around and he starts winning titles, No,
I think it's fun as a gimmick, not for a champion that's going to last for 90 days.
It's fun as a one-off for this 75-year-old man to come in and gingerly hold somebody's hand while he slowly walks the top rope as they hold him in place. But when you see it the second time, it's not as impressive. When you see it the third time, it's like, what the fuck are we doing? You know, like I saw a clip and they were like, oh, Mike Jackson's walking the top rope and there's nothing that Eli Knox can do about it. Like, yeah, all he'd have to do is take 2 steps back while he's got Mike Jackson's hand, and Mike Jackson would eat shit.
So yeah.
Like, that's the most that spot has bugged me for years. And now that everybody's doing it when he's 70-something years old, it drives me up the fucking wall. But anyway, I know I'm the asshole on that because everybody loves Mike Jackson.
Everybody, you know, there was a TV show. Everybody loves Chris, or everybody loves Ray, or whatever the fuck the name. I didn't like Ray Romano, so there you go. Not everybody. So.
Yeah, and then his brother turns up on Power Pros. All right.
Well, that was obscure, especially if you don't listen to anything else we do. Woo.
Yeah. Well, go figure it out. So that kicks off the feud between Smothers and Rich, and like you said, there's some tag matches involved. We get lumberjack matches.
Cousin Bird here with my favorite cousin Betty at the ASU Armory. We're about 15 minutes into this match, ladies and gentlemen. The wrestlers around the ring are lumberjacks. It's a lumberjack match. If the wrestler goes outside the ring, they're supposed to throw him right back in. But as you see there, with Nature Boy Buddy Landell and Toss's boys, they jump Tracy Smothers. There's the Phantoms of McClarty Brothers and Sean Taylor to help him back in. The wrestlers thrown out, they're supposed to be thrown back in immediately. But some sides don't adhere to that. Tommy Rich there with the big DDT. Cousin Betty, this match has been incredible.
It sure has, Bart. That Tommy Rich knows what he's doing. Of course, I love Tracy Smothers, too. They're both something to see.
There he throws him out again. Buddy Landell taking cheap shots. I hate that Buddy Landell.
Well, I don't. I kind of like to watch him.
Well, no accounting for taste, Cousin Betty. Cousin Buddy. Cousin Betty. Okay, Wildfire Tommy Rich raking the eyes. I don't see what you see in Buddy Landell. Of course, you are an older woman. That gives an older woman, he would appear to an older woman. Not that you're an older woman, but you are an older woman. But anyway, now he's choking Tracy Smothers down to the mat. Wildfire Tommy Rich. You know, cousin, he's a former NWA world champion. And some people who are very jealous of our promotion were spreading rumors that Tommy Rich wasn't even going to show up this night for this lumberjack match. But we knew he'd be there.
Of course he'll be there. If he says he's going to be somewhere, he's going to be there. If, you know, his word is good. I mean, his name is his word.
It's the same for Ozark Mountain Wrestling. If we advertise a wrestler, they're going to be there.
Definitely, though. We'll be there. People are just jealous of us because we've gone so far so fast.
Yes, we have, and going faster. And boy, do we got some big news in a couple of weeks that's going to shock the world. Don't tell them, but we got some news, don't we?
What news?
You know, yeah, that's right. What news? Don't tell them. That's right. Okay, Wildfire Tommy Rich against Tracy Smothers. Into the midsection and again. Punch to the foot. Whoa! Tracy firing up now. Tommy Rich down hard to the mat. Backs into the corner. Wildfire Tommy Rich. Ladies and gentlemen, what a grueling match this was. Wild-eyed Southern boy Tracy. Whoa, he's punching him like crazy.
I think it's something personal now, Bart, when he's mad.
Well, you know, Cousin Betty, it's been personal for about 6 to 8 weeks. Oh! Now, that'll knock your lights out. Foot's on the rope. These guys have been going at it hot and heavy. It's been personal for a long, long time, and we was hoping that maybe this lumberjack match would settle this feud, and it hasn't. So, and you're going to find out about it later in the show, and I'm going to tell you now because I want the world to start buzzing. Tommy Rich and Tracy Smothers are going in a 10-foot steel cage next Monday night at the ASU Armory.
Now, I can't wait to see that. That'll really be something.
Tracy don't know who's coming up to, you know, on the mat trying to help him. Tommy Rich. Oh, yes. Buddy Landell had to hand him a brass knuckles. 1, 2, 3. Your friend, Buddy Landell, caused Tommy Rich, and, well, he won the match.
Why do you always dog Buddy Landell? What's this going on here, Bart?
Because he's dirty and he's nasty. He's not playing by the rules. Tommy Rich, your winner.
They kind of just run the gamut of gimmicks, just like Memphis, you know. Did you see any of the Smothers and Rich stuff in person there? Were you there for
Oh
those
yeah,
matches? They stand
I
up?
saw a few of the matches. That one interview that you played online, I was there when that was going on. Uh, I was there up until probably a little after the anniversary show. We went a lot. I'm right in the crowd. I'm on the front row. Most of the time, it's me, one of my friends, my mom, my baby, who's my oldest daughter, and my ex-wife were all there, either in the front row or on the other side. But usually it was the cam side that we ended up right there on the cam side. There was a family, and I think I hinted to this. There was a family of I think there were 6 or 7 of them, and I know this people gonna say you're horrible, but they were it really it smelled like they never had took a bath. Now I know they have took a bath. They did take a bath sometime, but not recently. Let's just put it that way. And they would walk in and they would sit down, and I mean, I talked to my mom yesterday about it, and I said, "Do you remember us going to wrestling in Jonesboro?" Yep. I said, "Do you remember that family that would come in?" And, I don't know. My mom's memory is not perfect. She said, "Yeah, the Addams family, man, they stunk." So it was just like we called them the Addams family, and they all looked really odd. And it would have probably been better if we would have called them the Texas Chainsaw family or something. But they were typical. One of the women she never wore shoes. So it's typical redneck Arkansas, believed everything. You could just get a kick out of sitting there watching them watch the wrestling and what was going on. But I thought it was funny that my mom remembered what we called them and that they were stinking the place up when they came in. So
Yeah, I mean, for that memory to to carry for that many years, because I mean, I'm sure going to the wrestling didn't mean as much to her as it did to you. So the fact that stands out in her mind is like, oh man, them folks stunk. Like it had to be bad. And those
yeah,
people sound like the typical what non-wrestling fans.
yes.
That's what they picture when you say wrestling fans. They're like, oh, stinky, no shoe wearing, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Like that's what they think all of us are.
I need to get AI and get somebody and get the AI to draw them, the Adams family. So.
The Addams family. Yeah, that's funny.
We were, we're huge fans at this time. My wife was smartened up a little bit. This was before I started running shows. But she was a huge fan, and they were over the Spiders. I mean, the Spiders were a big deal to her. She even got personalized plates in Missouri. Missouri was one of the first states that you could do it in our area, and it was, I think, it's SPDERS or something like that. She got personalized plates because she was such a big mark for the Spiders.
Wow.
Even had me put her name in the Observer that she was looking for tapes of the Spiders, not as the Spiders, but as Glenn and Chaz. When they and any of the USWA stuff were Colorado Kid and the Spiders were in USWA. She had me write. She has Ozark Mountain, Smoky Mountain, ECW, and USWA to trade. So she was huge fan of theirs. Always got photos, got her photo taken with them, and the whole 9 yards. And they were over big time.
Were they heels the entire time, or were they baby faces at some point? Were the heels taking pictures with folks and everything, like at intermission and stuff, or is that just like?
Man, I don't know. So I've got 2 or 3 photos of her with them, and after you said that, I start thinking about. They did work heel most of the time, but she was such a huge fan of theirs. Because I'm looking at some results, and they have them against like Dick Murdoch and Tracy Smothers, and they feuded with the Glamour Boys, which I wanted to talk about them too. But they were heels during that time. But Bird had said that he didn't like the heels taking photographs and stuff. It was okay for them to sell photos, but he didn't want them out there with the fans because they wouldn't buy them as heels if they were out. But she has a couple pictures of her with them.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, because I knew back then, they didn't want that going on because for one thing, once they, fans come up and meet you and stuff, you're never going to have the same kind of heat. Now they feel like they kind of know you and they feel like the wink and the nod's now official, that you weren't an asshole to them at intermission. That's one thing that drives me crazy about going to modern shows is at intermission, you might have two guys that just got out of the ring as part of not just like some random match, like some blood feud, and they'll be 10 feet apart from each other at their gimmick tables, meeting fans like nothing happened. It's like all the wrestling stories just shut off at intermission and everybody's up there intermingling. I've watched two guys that had a match coming up later, like walk right past each other. And one night, two of them were standing there talking. I'm just like, geez, I mean, I know we all know it's a work now. Okay, I know that, but God, don't shove it in people's face like that. That's ridiculous.
Especially to me on a small show, it means more than it would be the WWE. To me, it's I gotta say, I was guilty of that at one time. We was working Duisburg, and we were heels. It was called, my team was called Sex and Candy, and we got a heel. We started getting like 10 or 12 at first that were cheering and singing the song, the old Sex and Candy song. And then more and more. And I told the boys, I said, look, let's get some gimmick money. So we made up a bunch of photos and we selling shit out of them. There was all kinds of people mad at us because we were out there during intermission, but we was on the other side of the building. They said, man, heels can't do that. I was like, hey, the fans that like my guys are buying it. It's not like I'm forcing them to buy it, but yeah, we had a contention against that, put it that way. So,
oh yeah. I've seen. I mean, I was opposite of that to the point that like, when me and Neil were tagging on some of those shows, like you say, they're just straight up local shows. And after the show, everybody would go out there and mingle and glad hand with the fans and even like Sammy Hall and guys like that. And from the very beginning, I told Neil, I was like, we got a ton of heat and we can keep it if we stay the fuck away from everybody. I'm like, if we go out there after the show and hang out, it's going to go away. So as soon as the show was over, we would either just straight up leave, or if it was still the point where we were still like helping tear down the ring and shit, we just go stand outside till they got all the fans out of there, and then we'd go do it. And sure enough, like some of the guys would say, like, yeah, my wife hates y'all because they say you're stuck up assholes. You won't come out there and talk and hug everybody like everybody else. And so I told Neil, I was like, this is perfect. Because even if we're on a show that the crowd sucks and it's just family, we'll all be the only people on the show with heat because the families hate us. So
right.
That was my logic on that. And plus, I don't know who was wanting to buy pictures of me and Neil. So
I was fixing to say, I'm
good.
not sure that. They weren't buying pictures of me either. So they was buying pictures of my guys.
So yeah, that was kind of what was next on my list. The Spiders. I mean, they, of course, for those who don't know, I think we talked about it on the last show. They eventually become the Headbangers and end up in the WWF and have a run with tag team titles. And, they're still able to go and do conventions and stuff now based off the whole Headbangers run. But they proved to be really solid heels here in Ozark Mountain. And I know they did jobs on TV as the Spiders, but, I was kind of surprised they didn't do more as heels. After once they became the Headbangers, they were kind of baby faces of them when they got split up and beaver cleavage on it.
I remember a match with the Moondogs in Jonesboro. Apparently, it was one of their last matches, but it was a really good, crazy match.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're back at the ASU Armory. There's the Spiders. As you see, they're Shanghai and the Moondogs. The Moondogs premiering with Ozark Mountain Wrestling tonight. They're in full time now, and we signed them immediately against our toughest team, the Spiders. And the Spiders sent out those phony Spiders. Cousin Betty, I don't know who they are, but they came down the step, and I knew them Spiders were in the building.
Cousin Bert, do you really not know who they are?
I think I know who one of them is, but that other heavy one, I'm not sure who he is, but I know that one is sexy too. Oh my gosh! Did you see that? Took the referee completely, not only out of the building, he might have took him out of this world. My gosh! We need a medic to come check this referee. The Spider, I think that's number 2. He'd be the only one loony enough to try to do that. Knock that referee's head off with that chair.
Bertie, it looks like he's not completely out.
You know, I really thought these, my God, I thought the Moondogs would come in and take it to the Spiders. The Spiders have simply gone nuts on the Moondogs. They're aboard. Look, right over Spider number 1's head. All right, it's hard to follow all this action. The chair down hard. Typical Moondog match.
This is the first time I've seen the Moondogs, Cousin Bart, and I can't believe it. They're so mean.
As old as you are, I thought you'd seen the Moondogs.
No, I've never seen them. I knew of them, and I knew they were real popular, but I've never seen them in action before.
Oh, I thought, you know, since you're so old, you'd have probably seen them in your travels. But anyway, there the Spider goes outside the ring, and the other one goes outside the ring. Moondog Rex down to the floor. My gosh, what's going to happen? The Moondogs. Ladies and gentlemen, this got so wild that this Monday night, we're putting all 4 of these in a cage. You just can't control them. And look at the people are standing. It was just unbelievable wrestling action. Moondog spot, Moondog Rex throwing Spider number 2 across. Down hard. Boy, the Spiders jumping from behind. But I tell you what, the Moondogs controlling the match now. What's he doing? Set up with a big splash. 450 pounds. There's Moondog spot on top. Now going back over to Spider 1. The referee actually has gotten up and is back in the ring. Why did he do that? He can't barely stand. Hit with another chair, Spider number 1. Oh! You know, I've had that happen to me when I was working in Tennessee. That plain hurt. Now the referee down again. That referee, someone needs to carry him out, get him to the dressing room. My gosh.
We need Dr. Levinson to check him. He is supposed to be the official Ozark Mountain Wrestling physician, isn't he, Cousin Bert?
Well, he wasn't here that night, but he should have showed up.
He sure should have. That guy needs some medical assistance.
The Moondogs against the Spiders. What a match this was, ladies and gentlemen. My gosh, now the Moondogs going for the mask of the Spiders. Ladies and gentlemen, you can see all these great stars when they come to Rector, Arkansas on Saturday, June 3rd. Now, throwing the Spider into the chair. My gosh. Oh, the chair. What's he doing? Going back for the referee, and oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. What does that Spider got against that poor referee? Absolutely lays him out. Moondog spot and Spider 1 on the floor. Spider 2 and Moondog Rex inside the ring. Boards flying. We move these chairs back an extra 4 feet so their fans are in no danger. You're no danger when you come to Ozark Mountain Wrestling, I promise you. But my gosh, look at this. Moondog Rex dropped down. Punch to the floor to Spider number 1. Moondog Mania. My gosh, the Moondogs and the Spiders. Spider number 2 in the background firing up on Moondog spot. Where are they getting all their reserve? My God, these Spiders are some incredible athletes.
They are, Bert. They're really professional. They work out every day. I'd love to see what they look like behind those masks.
I don't know. Whoa, look at the people are standing up. Moondog trying to grab a chair there. Spider number 1 is bleeding. Spider number 1 is bleeding through the mask. That Spider on his face is now turned red. There, Moondog spot just throw the chair again. My gosh, talk about chairomania.
That's the worst beating I've ever seen either one of those Spiders types.
Well, let me tell you something. That Moondog are taking a beating too. My gosh. Moondog spot trying to shake it off. These Spiders are going toe-to-toe with them.
You're right, Bert, they are. I mean, these guys are so much bigger than they are. I don't think... Oh, my goodness.
There's a meeting of the minds there. I can't wait to see this one in a cage, ladies and gentlemen. Anything goes. No referee will be in the ring. Look at all the fans there on their feet. Nobody in, nobody out. Anything goes this Monday night at ASU Armory. Plus, the Colorado kid's going to be on the card against Tasha's Surprise. Tommy Rich, Tracy Smothers in a cage. 7 matches. My God. For $5, Cousin Betty, they ain't a better deal in the world.
No way, Cousin Bert. $5 to see this, that's just too cheap. We need to go up.
Well, I don't know. We're going to treat the fans right, the ones that have supported us, because we're going to deliver what we said. Whoa. Almost had that mask off. Did you see that?
I'd love to see his face. I wish he would get his mask off.
Did that spider have a beard? It looked like he had a beard.
I don't know. I couldn't really tell.
Now they're going for the mascot spider number 1. He's going to get out of there, I guarantee you. He does not want the world to know who he looks like, ladies.
On that same show I remember Flash coming in. Flash Flanagan's a friend of mine, and he came in and he worked Motley Crue on that match. But a team that we saw in different promotions is the Phantoms, and it was different names. But on that night, it was Mike Samples and Jerry Faith were the Phantoms. I always liked their gimmick, but you'd see them for 3 weeks and they'd be gone. So
yeah. Boy, Mike Samples sure wore a variety of masks and gimmicks, didn't he? Like,
oh yeah,
I had no idea years ago. I always thought he was just that same boring persona, but he's done all kinds of shit. Yeah, so that was one of those instances with the Spiders where they've got so much heat. Now you can bring the Moondogs in as baby faces to kick their ass, and the Moondogs are over as baby faces, which is always fun, because they had kind of earned everybody's respect over the years in the South of them just, even if they didn't come out on top in a feud, they beat the shit out of the baby faces in the meantime, and people.
They went to Cornette's promotion first, didn't? Is that where the Headbangers? For some reason, I think the Headbangers were there for first.
I think they worked there for a little while.
Yeah. Right after the Spiders, they went in as the Headbangers. I think.
And that's I guess that's what the WWF seen and felt like there was some money. And of course, like I said, they were aware of the Spiders, but they had just been used as job guys. So there was
right
coming back from that under that persona. But yeah, they had these Arkansas street fights and no disqualification, Moondog matches and stuff. And so, and that gave Bert kind of some ECW like brawling on his shows, which ECW by 95 is cooking pretty well. They're not as big as they would be, but they're a hell of a lot bigger than they were 2 years earlier in the time frame that me and Brandon Wheeler are watching every week right now. So that's little did people know that the whole business was going to start going in the direction of ECW.
And we've talked about this before. It's kind of the Memphis style too. It's one of those things where you're going to have blood, and you're going to have brawling, and you're going to have. Apparently, they got rid of the Moondogs in June in a loser leave town match, and then the Spiders were gone for a while, and then came back as baby faces. You was asking about that. They came back as baby faces on one of the Jonesboro shows, tagging with Colorado Kid against the Giant Warrior, Bull Payne, and Motley Crue. So I laughed about the Giant Warrior, but do you know anything about this guy?
Ladies and gentlemen, action from the Jonesboro ASU Armory last Monday night. Bull Payne, Motley Crue, and the Giant Warrior against the Colorado Kid and the Spiders. Ladies and gentlemen, what a match this was. 6-man tag team brawl. The Spiders coming back as the favorite of the Colorado Kid to defend the honor of Ozark Mountain Wrestling, trying to run these bullies out of the area. There's the Colorado Kid with the big super kick, and Bull Payne runs out of the ring. Motley Crue coming in the ring now, ladies and gentlemen. Sold-out crowd, almost 400 people at the ASU Armory last Monday night. There, the Giant had to pull him by the hair over the corner. Of course, they can't fight one-on-one. It's got to be 2-on-1, 3-on-1, 7-on-1. Heaven forbid they ever have to fight fair. Motley Crue down hard there with the elbow to the spine of the Colorado Kid. Oh, my gosh. Walking in the studio now. Here comes the bleach blonde Samantha Payne. What do you want?
Just go ahead and tell me how glad you are to have me out here to help you.
I'd rather have Poison Oak rather than have you sit here. But since you're here, you weren't at this match because you were locked in the ladies' bathroom during it. But let me tell you, what a grueling match this was.
It was grueling, and I could see out the little crap you left me to see out of.
The Giant Warrior, one of the toughest men in all of professional wrestling, ladies and gentlemen, laying the size 18 boots into the Colorado Kid.
That's right. He's doing the job right now, and he should have just went on. The Colorado Kid should have just went on and gave up while he had the chance.
He's not going to give up. When have you ever seen the Colorado Kid give up?
I didn't say he had many brains. I said he should have gave up while he had the chance.
The Colorado Kid Boy, took that ring post hard to the spine. Of course, that's your man, Bull Payne. He can't fight in the ring. He's got to take it out on the floor and cheat.
Fight in the ring? Look who's on the outside of the ring. Your spiders that the Colorado kid had to run and call. There who's on the outside of the ring. I never saw Bull Payne leave the ring.
Well, because they tried to come over and get Bull Payne away from him. He had to attack the Colorado kid on the floor when the Giant threw him out there in the first place.
You are seeing things again. You're always seeing things. I don't know where you come up with this.
Giant Warrior with a side suplex down hard on the mat. Incredible action at the Jonesboro ASU Armory. Ladies and gentlemen, be a part of it this Monday night. This Monday night, all general admission tickets just $3. 8 big matches. Gonna be an incredible night this Monday night down at the Jonesboro ASU Armory. In fact, you're even gonna be allowed at ringside this week, Samantha.
Well, it's just too kind of you because I was going to be at ringside anyway. You have locked me in your last bathroom.
Bull Payne down hard with that leg.
That's right. He's got him right here. Now, this right here, it shows that he should just go ahead and submit.
Front face chin lock on the Colorado Kid by Bull Payne. You know, I've admired Bull Payne for years. I've known him, I guess, from the early 80s when we worked for the Vern Gagne promotion up in Minneapolis. And this guy doesn't have to wrestle like this. I think it's your influence on him. I think you've got him brainwashed or whatever hold you got on him. If he would wrestle scientifically and try to halfway play by the rules, I think he would be just a major force to be reckoned with. He don't need to take these shortcuts.
There again, I have no idea what you're talking about. Shortcut, I don't know what you're talking about. I myself have never interfered and cheated in a match, and I know that Bull Payne doesn't have to interfere or cheat, and I have never seen it happen.
Colorado Kid with that patented drop kick, and Bull Payne goes down. Now the Spider number 2 in there with Motley Cruz and the Giant Warrior. Now Bull Payne rocking and rolling in the ring. Colorado Kid makes his way up to the apron. Oh, and a big drop kick on the Giant Warrior, and he goes down to one knee. Back up. It's going to take a lot more than that to take this Giant out. He is incredible. I'm going to give you that. 7 foot tall, well over 300 pounds. Let me tell you, what a tough individual. Spiders backs the Giant Warrior, slaps him on the chest. Nothing but a flea bite on the Giant Warrior. I tell you what, I've been in wrestling a long time. They don't come as big as bad as this guy very often. And I'll give you that one, Samantha. He's going to be a big-time marquee player in the world of professional wrestling, no doubt about it. Breaks the eyes of the Spider. Picks him up like he doesn't weigh it out. Slams him hard down to the mat. Bull Payne there outside the ring. The Giant Warrior. What's he going to do now? Tags out to Motley Cruz.
That's a legal tag. Did you see that?
That's a legal tag. They do a couple of them in a match, I'm sure. Oh, and a kick. My gosh, did you see that? Snapmare over. Motley Cruz down hard with that
Now,
knee.
he's got him now. See that? He can't even get up. He's got him now. Again, big knee right across the face. Did you see that?
Are you going to let me talk?
Not today.
Bull Payne climbing the rope down hard with a big splash on the Spider. 1. Count of 1, count of 2.
Run in there. We had him beat. 1, 2.
About this time of the match.
Win.
That's what I thought. Motley Cruz cheating. He's outside the ring. They're on the ropes, cheating.
It's a bad camera angle.
Fabian Matthews is one of the best cameramen in all of America. That's not a bad camera angle.
Fabian retired years ago.
Different guy. I know you're over 50 years old. Bull Payne going for the pin. He's not going to get a... He's not...
Referee again. There's that referee again. I have told you if you would hire some officials that could count to at least 3, we could get the job done. But you have to hire these guys that work for $2 and a steak and shake hamburger a night that can only count to 2.
Well, why don't you teach Bull Payne how to grab the leg in a pinfall?
Grab the leg? Bull Payne don't need to be taught anything. He knows it all. That's why he's getting ready to pin the Spider, and it's going to be over just in a minute. I could tell you that if I knew it, but I was locked in the bathroom.
With Tramp.
With who? There you go, calling people names. You were supposed to be a professional here, and you come out here and call people names.
I call them how I see them, and when I look at Tasha Simone, I see a Tramp.
Well, I don't think that you have the right to be calling anybody a tramp. I know you're past it, buddy.
And if you keep eating those brownies and them Snicker bars, you're going to be borrowing clothes from me.
Hey, I got the last Snickers bar I had out of your bag. You had 12 of them left. You think you could spare one?
No, that's not true. But anyway. Bull Payne down on the mat. The Spider down on the mat. Colorado Kid cheering him on. Motley Crue's trying to cheer Bull. Who's going to get up first? Looks like Bull Payne on his feet first. Grab the Spider. Spider fervently trying to tag and cannot make the tag to the Colorado Kid. Colorado Kid right there. I know he wants in right now awful bad.
He wants in, but they can't get over there to tag him because why? Why? Because they are weak. Weak. If you can't get over there to tag him, then he can't get in. That is the rules, isn't it? But at least that's what I thought the rules were. Apparently not as far as they're concerned because they've been doing it all night long.
Oh, that's very unfair. Now, look at this match. We're about 35 minutes into this match right now. And I tell you, there's 6 conditioned athletes in the ring. I'm going to have to give them that. But there's Bull Payne throwing the Spider out. Why? He's just feeding him to Motley Crue to slam him on the concrete. Is that legal?
Legal. Motley Crue is just, he fell out of the ring, and they're trying to help him back in. But before they could do that, here comes the Colorado Kid running over there to cheat. Now, where is he supposed to be? He's supposed to be on his side of the ring, in his ring corner, but no, he has to stick his nose in and cheat, just when the good guys over here were trying to help the Spider back into the ring.
Boy, with that theory, you need to be on a defense team in Los Angeles. You need to be an attorney. My gosh. You can make any excuse for a cheater. That's just unbelievable. They've broken every rule in the book.
Now look how nice he is. He reached down there and is helping him into the ring.
Is that what that is? Suplex on the side of the ring, if you can imagine. Spider goes in the ring and suplexes Cruz back into the ring. Bull Payne there. Why don't Bull Payne stand on the apron, Samantha?
He is trying to make sure that they are following all the rules, so he's getting like the bird's eye view from down there where he can see the mat.
A bird's eye view would mean he'd be higher.
Well, it's some drunk birds.
Drop kick. Oh, kicks Bull Payne and a third drop kick. My gosh. Punching Motley Crue. Meeting of the minds there by the Colorado Kid. The Giant Warrior over there. Well, Spider's not going to knock him out that way. He's crazy to try that. There, Colorado Kid. Working on the Giant Warrior in the ring. Motley Crue. Oh, Spider down hard on him. There's Weldon Wilma cheering the Spiders on. Bull Payne, what's he going? Oh, my, you're kidding. You're kidding. Oh, on the concrete. Now, that's legal?
What?
Oh, the Spiders. Oh, my. Oh!
He needs somebody come and save this Colorado Kid. The Giant Warrior is just about to kill him. He might have broke his neck right there.
Tell you what, I've never seen anyone manhandle Colorado Kid like that. My gosh, did you see that? My God. Oh, and Bull Payne.
Oh. See what they did? See those Spiders? There they go. Cheat. I try to tell you. There they go again. The Giant Warrior had him pinned right there, and in had to run one of those little creepy crawly spiders to break the count.
Well, don't count the Colorado Kid out. I guarantee you what. Ducks under. Up with a flying body press. Oh, no, and the Giant has caught him. Spider's in now. Drop kicks one from behind the Giant. He goes down. Colorado Kid on top. The Colorado Kid gets the victory. The Spiders and Colorado Kid, you're one of the fans are going nuts. What a match this has been. My gosh.
You saw them all three in there. It took 3 of them to beat the Giant Warrior. Colorado.
Because I was curious at one point if I thought that Dragon Master in Memphis may have been that guy.
There was, they had said that could have been him, but I don't think it was. I think the Giant Warrior was a much younger guy.
Yeah.
He.
I did some research on him back last year when he popped up, but none of it stuck with me. I just remember seeing some video of his match. I think I got a clip I can add into this or put up on the Facebook page of him in like a couple of tag matches and things. And he was big. That's about all you can say for him. He was giant.
He said he came in as he was the Giant Warrior. He came in, and I changed his name to Future Shock, and we start seeing that name show up. He said he was. I don't remember him. No, he's talking about Justin St. John was another guy that was a good looking guy that sold tickets. But yeah, Future Shocker. He just Giant Warrior just I may have those two guys mixed up. So Giant Warrior was not that good. I remember that, but Burt was using him in the main event. So
Yeah, because on a local show like that, you just don't see big 7 foot tall people, so that can work. Like you can make a couple loops around through all the towns just so people can go, oh, look how big he is. And then when they see him wrestle, like, oh God, he's the shits. And then you're pretty much done. Kind of like how every territory brought in, Big Bad John, and he would do a couple of weeks. But once he'd been around the horn a couple of times and everybody saw what he actually was, you just had to send him on to the next territory. There was no longevity.
Well, I always liked it when they did these old school shows where they'd have Valiant, Lawler, and Dundee on them, and they draw big numbers the first time, and then they would do the same show the next month. And I think Kenny Valiant had a couple of those where the second month no one came out because everybody was like, "Oh God, they're old.
Yeah.
They're not the same age as they were when I was a kid." So.
And we're not going to come out again to watch Jimmy Valiant kiss a dude, stick his thumb up his ass. And I mean, Jimmy, by that point, Jimmy had his match that he had with everybody. I mean, me and Neil worked it with him 2 or 3 times. And, I watched him. There was spot by spot by spot, same sequence, same everything. And promoters would bring him in a second time within a year or so, and he would come back and he'd do that same. They don't remember being there. Come back and do the same shit all over again. And it's like, all right, that was fun the first time. Now it's kind of sad, but Valiant never made his way to Ozark Mountain, did he?
No, he never came. I think it was one of those things where he was just loyal to Memphis and Jarrett, and he still thought of it as that. I mentioned the Glamour Boys earlier, but they had some matches with Spiders, and I think it's independently some of the best matches I've ever seen live with those two teams against each other. And one of them was Val Venus, Sean Morley, and the other guy I do know he was huge. They were huge success in Puerto Rico as kind of babyface team. Shane Swell or Sewell, or I don't know whatever happened to him, but man, they were. Man, they were so good. And you think about it, Val Venus was a solid worker compared to what was going and working with the Spiders all the time, every night,
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, not many people in that area was built like him, the muscular, and there's a few, but not a lot. But I don't know. It always struck me weird that the Glamour Boys would be baby faces. That just sounds like such a heel tag team. But
I don't know if they were baby faces, Puerto Rico, or heel, but they being Americans, they could have been heels. I don't know. But yeah, that sounds like a heel team. But I was just so impressed with those guys, knowing that and being such a big tag team, Mark. They just knowing I was going to have good matches when I saw those 4 guys in the ring against each other.
Yeah, there's another team, the Lightning Express, and that's not Brad Armstrong and Tim Horner. What do you remember about that team? I know
they were just a local team. I think they ended up, one of them, and someone can correct me, but worked Osceola for a long time. But 2 guys, Greg Jones and Ricky Steele, and I believe Burt put the tag team titles on one time. But they're one of that group that's on the front of the show that are, they're able to grab them, put them on television. And being in Jonesboro, and them being from either Osceola or somewhere from Northeast Arkansas, they're being able to bring people in, their families, whatever. Plus, they're able to, be superstars on television in Jonesboro. So he had a lot of those on that roster that would not. I mean, Motley Cruz, he got a kind of a break in KEW. but they didn't get breaks on Memphis television. I think that some of these guys never got a match on Memphis television, but they were, like Rick said, they was able to work people that they never would have been able to work being in an outlaw group.
Right. Yeah, that's for sure. Did we ever figure out who the masked nightmares were here working for Bert? Did he
Yeah,
talk about in the
I
book?
one of them was, I got them wrote down here somewhere. Hold on, let me find out. Yeah, what surprises me is that Buddy, it was David Oswald and Rick Glenn. I don't know who Rick Glenn, but David Oswald worked as a nightmare on some outlaw shows too.
Yeah, he teamed with like
He
teamed with, I think he teamed with Danny, but while Ken was still like the stray cat or whatever. And I
that
think
could have been it.
I know he also teamed after Memphis. He teamed with Ted Allen as the Nightmares.
That's what I should say. Ted Allen was one of the Nightmares at one time too. But yeah, that was the team that was the Nightmares. It surprised me because I think I'm trying to look, but I think I saw his wife, Ken's wife, on here, our sister-in-law, and then Buddy was at all the shows. So I was surprised after going through all these results that we did not see the Nightmare Ken Wayne on any of these shows.
Yeah, I would expect that because he was in and out of Memphis, but wasn't really going very far off by this
And
point.
he lived in West Memphis, so if you know anything, all these little towns, Paragould, Jonesboro, Wynn, they did run West Memphis a night, or a couple nights probably, but they Hardy, Arkansas. This would have been a kind of a perfect territory for him. But I've also thought about some of the other shows that Bert did. I don't know if him and Ken had heat or not, because I don't remember seeing Ken's name on other Bert shows, like when he went to, and we'll talk about him start Music City. I don't remember seeing any Bert, Ken Wayne as part of it. So I don't know.
That's a good point. That's a good point. That's true. I don't remember ever seeing him on other than if you go back to those shows in Idaho, I think it was he was running.
Yeah.
Ken's on those shows in like 86 or 7, somewhere in that time frame, I think. He pops up there, but that promotion didn't last very long. So they may have had a falling out over some money or something during that debacle, how that all ended. But that's just speculation.
Right.
How was, he was kind of almost completely out of Memphis at this point. How was Buddy Landell? How was his work and how was he perceived here in 95 in Ozark Mountain?
Felt like he was a star, man. Just really, I was always a fan of Buddy's. Met him a couple of times. Totally cool, laid back. But yeah, he came out, did great promos, worked in the ring, solid. I always liked it when he was on the shows, knowing I was going to have a good match to watch. So yeah, big Buddy, being a big Buddy Landell fan, you might look over extra weight or anything like that. But yeah, I always enjoyed his matches here in Ozark. And I think Bert really liked him too.
I was thinking it had, because I know in the year leading up to this and everything is when, Shawn Michaels came to Smoky Mountain and they had that big match that kind of, rekindled the spark of Buddy Landell. He was like, hey, Buddy still got it,
Yeah.
Did some WWF shots, here and there and all that. I knew it was in this same basic time period. So I figured he had to still be in decent shape and clear-headed, more so than he'd been maybe a couple of years prior to this.
Yeah, I just, man, everyone says about Buddy, but really just, his worst enemy was him. And I hate it because he was so talented. But he had, not only people talk about his drug use and blah blah blah, but it was a mental thing too. He had some kind of mental illness that would keep him from being the big star because he couldn't handle it mentally. And I was not around him, but like I said twice. Once he said once I gave him one of my kayfabe sheets when I was doing one. It was really just a tape list, but we had put him on the cover. The artist had, and he was really. It was tiny, and he was like, "Man, I can't read this," but he was super nice to me and the person I was with. Dutch had got me into the show, and I was kind of backstage, not backstage, and he knew the person I was with, and he came up to us and I think Rob said something about this too, meeting Buddy Landell, but Buddy Landell smelled good, Gene. He really did. So he asked us how we were doing, how we got where we got, put it that way.
Yeah.
Who are you? What are you doing here? Blah, 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 kind of thing. Cause he knew the person I was with, but he didn't know me, and just super nice. So he had told us that, if Dutch won't get us into the next show, which we weren't going to the next show, but Dutch wasn't going to get us in for the next show, he would get us in. So just let him know, because he'd take care of business. So this was a WCW show. So but
we're kind of jumping around right now talking about different people. So like in the fall of 95, we mentioned Mike Samples had been under a mask as a Phantom and done a couple of different things. Well, as Mike Samples, and he's kind of paired up with the Spiders. They got kind of a little heel faction going. But Missy Hyatt comes in to manage him a couple of different times, and I know she would do that on a couple of Bert's other shows down the line. What do you remember about Missy Hyatt being there?
I don't remember Missy being except at the anniversary show.
Yeah, I think it was just a once or twice at best, but
I don't remember seeing her, and it could have been. See, we get into September. They're still running shows like our West Memphis, Jonesboro, Paragould. Yeah, I may not have been going on a regular basis then, but like I said, the only show I remember her doing was the anniversary show. So
that might have been the only one.
Yeah, it might have been. So in July, I'm gonna go ahead and talk about this real quick, and you can put the video up, either in post production or what. But I kind of quit going to the arena because had something really crazy happen, and I reached out to Rick Burton, and Rick was able to find the match and show it to me. I have video proof of what happened, but I had wrote a letter to the Observer that I was at an Ozark Mountain card and an incident happened. Here's what I wrote. I won't read it all, but I thought it might interest you. The card was the usual, some bad matches, some good. A street fight was scheduled between local guys Shane Hurt and Rick Burton. They were having a good match and were doing some hard chair shots. Burton hit Hurt hard with a chair. Hurt went down and cut himself real good. We were seeing a double juice brawl, and it was great. Then Hurt wiped the blood from his head and flung it into the crowd. I was pissed, and you could tell on the videotape I'm kind of pissed. But I went to Bert that night, and I told Bert, that is so stupid. And his response was, oh, yeah, he's stupid. Now, I went on in the letter to talk about I could have got AIDS that night, but I probably couldn't have. But still, I thought it was a shitty thing to do. I had my 2-year-old daughter there, and it was a shitty thing to do. The funny thing is, in Bert's book, and I joke about this all the time. Did I tell you I'm in Bert's book? He mentions me as turning in results like I did. But when they talk about the Shane Hurt incident, he claims to not even know who Shane is.
Okay.
Yeah, he said, he says, I don't remember that happening. I didn't even have a guy named Shane Hurt on my roster. And I'm like, wait, I came up to you that night. And so after reading that in the book and then going back and watching this, I remember Rick telling me years later, after me and Rick become friends, that they read that in the dressing room. They read that letter in the dressing room. and Bert had told him not to do stupid shit like that anymore. But he claimed in the book, which, that's Bert. That he knew nothing about the blood going into the crowd. Something else Bert did one time, and I want to say it before I forget about it. When it comes to me, is that he was talking about bringing a show to Steele, Missouri. And he acted like I was a 10-year-old boy. It was hilarious. He goes, yeah, we got a kid there. His name is Brian Trammell. He's been a huge fan. And we're going to have these kids come out. So y'all come out with Brian. And I'm like, what? I'm not a kid. But he just did it to try to get people to kind of know there you go. We go back to that local promoting. He said my name. I lived there my whole life. Went to the school system. My mom was she was a lunchroom lady and director of lunchrooms by that time. So we were well known in that little town. There's not that a lot of people, so 2,200, but still, I was over motherfucker in my hometown. So he made it a point to mention people's names like that.
This is a Make-A-Wish for little Brian Trammell. We're gonna make his dreams come true, honey.
But yeah, this kind of sired me.
You're talking about. I got it set up where we can talk over it.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can kind of describe what's happening here. And
who's
who here?
Yeah, this is right what I was talking about. I think Hurt has already bladed at this time. He's bleeding.
That's Burton in the white, right?
Yes, yeah. It's Burton in the white. And I even put an arrow on it. You see me sitting there, and he takes the blood off of his forehead and just slings it to the crowd. I'm in a Superman shirt. I jump up like I'm fixing to jump him. But, man, I just thought that was just so stupid. I still had a fear of AIDS. It was 90-something. So AIDS was still a big deal to me, but just the idea that somebody would do something like that. It just, I mean, I don't even think I seen Abdullah or anybody take his hand and sling blood to the crowd. So
didn't he go on to be Shane Eden? I think they called him when he worked.
I don't know if he did. I'll have to ask Burton, and we'll do that on the next show. Shane Eden was a big deal for Burt, right?
Yeah. I
don't think so.
I swear it's the same guy, but I didn't like some of the notes I had said that it was the same person, and I was like, maybe. But I was just thinking whenever you said Burt said he didn't have anybody named Shane Hurt, like, well, maybe Burt got so used to him being Shane Eden he forgot that he had that name at some point.
Right. It could have been. It could have been one of those things.
Mindset when that book was being written, but
no, he wasn't. That's why I kind of gave him, gave him the benefit of the doubt on that. But it's just one of those things where it's really weird that it happened, and then he just like pretty much denies it, even though the whole dressing room knew what was going on. But, Rick worked television here, went on to do, Burt describes it, but it's an Adrian Street gimmick. He was a San Francisco treat. He did that gimmick in this area. And never, I don't know if he ever did Memphis TV, but I do know that he was a big part of the indie scene here all the time.
Yeah, I think he ended up in Alabama eventually, because I remember, unless somebody was ripping off that gimmick, I remember seeing his name on a bunch of posters when I first moved to Alabama. Years and years ago.
I think he still lives in this area. So
maybe that's somebody doing his damn gimmick.
Yeah, he does a music page where he finds some most obscure music that you've never heard of, and he'll post it, and it's from like the 70s or something. You would listen to it and go, oh, yeah, I think the Black Crowes were listening to this before they recorded their first album, because, my God, it sounds just like it,
Yeah.
But he's a huge music fan, and, I guess he still watches wrestling, but I know he doesn't do anything with wrestling anymore. Tagged with a guy, Loose Cannon, and they did tag team matches and stuff in the area. So
I remember Loose Cannon being a prominent part of Jimmy Blaylock's message board drama back in the day. And I think he wrote a column over there, Cannon's Fire or some such. I mean, you get a headache trying to read it, because there was no editing, there was no proofreading. It's just like, push it out and see if people can make.
I thought it was funny though, Burt. If he was going to get rid of somebody, he always, he did the old loser leave town match instead of just. I mean, he knew that they weren't going to work anymore. So, hey, might as well do something that, But
Yeah.
Rich worked David Haskins, Davy Rich, one night, and I think it was the last of June. So I don't remember that match, but I'm marking out for it right now. And he had brought in June, he had brought in Bull Payne and Samantha. Motley Cruz was there, and they were building for and we may wait till next time to talk about the big anniversary show, but they were all building for that big anniversary show in August. And just so everybody can put it in perspective, he was doing a National Guard armory, drawing 200 to 300 people every week. And this is a big ass building. It's where the Red Wolves, so the Indians were playing basketball. At one time, it was the biggest, and I don't even know what to call it, Gene. It was the biggest arena that you could adjust the seats in. Like, if you had a concert, you could put the stage right here, and then you could use the mechanics to move the seats around to the seating chart that you wanted. And so you go to a concert, and it would be a total different experience than you going to wrestling. But the main thing is that they're building for a Colorado kid in a cage against Bull Payne, and they brought in a bunch of people. So it was kind of interesting who they brought in. I was there. And there's a couple of claims at how much money they made, but I had called the convocation center, so I kind of know how many people was there, and I guesstimated what the gate was by the average ticket price. So, but I don't know how many people got in for free or anything like that. But we can talk about that whole show and how he got a really cheap rate on the building. And
Yeah, we're right at an hour now, so that's what we'll kick off part 3 with. We'll start with the anniversary show, and
all right, sounds good, man.
Around it sounds like it was an interesting night. So yeah, that's definitely where we'll pick up. But that's going to do it for part 2, and hope everybody enjoyed this one as much as they did the first one. There's just so many people moving in and out of there, and people that you'll know down the line as someone else, or people you already knew, like Smothers and Rich. And so I don't know, it's just a real interesting promotion, I think, that has kind of gone unnoticed until now. So hopefully we'll put some eyes on it, and I've noticed that the views on my YouTube channel, the views on the Ozark Mountain videos have gone up significantly since we did that first episode.
Awesome. I just want everybody to know, he said they're 30 minutes on the first episode, and they're easy to watch. There is a lot of advertisement in it, but if you just want to watch the wrestling and the promos, I mean, 15 minutes probably, but it'll give you an idea also. If you pick a show that's later in not one of the very first shows, but later in, you'll understand what we're talking about Bert being a salesman and how he did everything. You knew getting off that show, number one, who the sponsor was. Number two, you knew where they were going to be that week. Every town, everything. You knew exactly what was going on. So there was no ifs, ands, or buts. And I think that was part of the success, too. You talk about running 17 shows. It was because Bert knew how to run wrestling. He knew how to make money in wrestling. There's all kinds of names that we talk about. As Dirty Little Dave was there. There was a Rockabilly. Samantha Payne was there. There's a Black Dragon. I don't remember him, but I'm going to look him up, and I'm going to look up that Giant Warrior stuff to see how wrong I was on that too. So I promise everybody I'll look that up.
Yes, we'll do some research on some names that popped up and have more to offer next time. But for now, this is going to be a wrap on part 2 of the Ozark Mountain Deep Dive. Is there anything you want to plug here at the end, BT? And just
no, man.
Listen to our other stuff.
Yeah, STSPOD.club in the right-hand corner, link of all links. Follow us on social media. Me and Gene are trying. We do STSPOD.club. We do Gene's. We share so much content, but we have content that we have noticed some really weird stuff since we started sharing content. Like, we get some huge numbers on both feeds, and sometimes that don't make any sense to me, but we thank you. We really do. Keep listening on my feed. Keep listening on Gene's feed. There you go.
I think that's really more of a testament that while we do have a shared audience, there's definitely separate audiences that just watch your stuff or just watch my stuff, and then we've got some people in the middle. That's the only thing those numbers can prove, unless there's a lot of people watching it twice. They watch it on mine. If you're doing that, God bless you too. We'll take
You're
the views
pushing that
however we
plate,
can get them.
both of ours. We appreciate it. We do. We really do. So
Absolutely. Hey, if you haven't yet, go on Patreon and check out BT's exclusive interview with Downtown Bruno, where he talks to him about Power Pro. That's not something, Bruno does a lot of interviews and different things, but his time in Power Pro is not something he's talked about a lot publicly. He doesn't get asked about it a whole lot. I know there's another territory that he did that you're going to talk to him about soon. And when you
we got him coming on a CWA show. We do it's called Right Along Ringside, 1 week on Sundays, and the next week we'll do CWA. And I've been doing CWA with you, then Steve Crawford. But I took the first 4 months. Well, it was the end of the first 3 months, right when April started. And I said, I want to bring you on the CWA Patreon show and just talk about. And he has a lot of, he was there. He was this big star. We joke about how it was almost like the first 45 minutes was Downtown Bruno.
Oh, yeah. It was like the Downtown Bruno show, some episodes.
And he talks about, Virgil and stuff like that. He talks about, and it was really fun at the end when I brought up Paul Heyman. So Paul Heyman debuts during that time, and Bruno's the #1 manager. And so it's real fun to see stuff like that happen where he talks about stuff he's never talked about. And as you said, and we'll get off here, but there is something that Bruno did during his career that not a lot of people talk about. And he said, man, I really would like for you to cover this with me and have questions with me about it. And so we're going to deep dive some stuff. We'll probably put it on the main feed, but before it'll go on the Patreon way before it goes to the main feed. So if you like Downtown Bruno, subscribe to one of our Patreons.
I discovered something last night. I don't know. I can't remember if he talked about this promotion in his book. I don't remember it. And I've certainly never come across any footage of it. There's this new YouTube channel that popped up, Mississippi Film Works or some such. And they got a lot of just some stuff I've seen. There's even some Ozark Mountain stuff on there, but there's a lot of stuff I hadn't. In this show, there was a show called Tri-State Championship Wrestling. And it's from 86 and 87. It crosses over into 87. But 86, 87, it's definitely down south because there's like rebel flags all over the ring skirt. Right. You got Bruno there managing what looks to be Goliath as a hillbilly.
You got to send me that because that might have been something we talked about on the CWA show.
Goliath wasn't a hillbilly. I think he was managing the guy against him. But
it was Dale Mann's promotion. It could have been Dale Mann's promotion.
It definitely looks like one of his, from everything I've heard about him. Because Mark Curtis is there as a manager.
Oh wow, my old friend Mark Curtis. God,
there's Johnny Rotten, who I believe is Mike Durham, who would go on to become Johnny Grunge. I think it's the same Johnny Rotten. And it may be
you'll have to send that to me. Maybe we can talk about that too. That sounds fun because we talked about the Dale Mann promotion on that CWA thing and what Memphis and everyone in the area thought about Dale's promotion, which is very interesting, a lot different than I thought. I had talked to Wolfie about Dale Mann a couple of times, but Dale was a name that popped up in those magazines on the gimmicks table when I was a kid. So he was in results. He sent in results. His picture was in there. It's one of those eye-opening times as a fan, as a kid, that you say, there's other promotions in this area. It's not only Memphis. There's other, but yeah. Fun stuff.
Jamie Dundee's got some wild Dale Mann stories that he tells on some of Jimmy Street's Give You Back My Pro Wrestling.
I'll have to go back. Yeah, that would be somebody to deep dive. For some reason, I've just, when you first started talking about USWA, I told you, who wants to listen to that crap, who wants to watch old USWA. But I was in a different mindset. My partner liked the current wrestling no matter what. Wasn't an old school guy. And the more I get into the old school guy, I'm turning into Gene. I told my wife this. I'm turning into you. I'm barely watching WWE now, and I used to watch every
yeah.
pay-per-view. So it's been almost little over a year and a half, and my interest is these old promotions and the way they mainly the way they used to promote. Why did they do this instead of that? So it's really fun. It's better than, because you know exactly what's going to happen in almost everything. Someone gets beat up and the music starts. Here comes somebody for the save, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, and I'm really into that. If I'm going to sit and criticize them all the time, why am I spending time watching them? So that's one of the reasons I don't watch AEW. Man, we got off on the weeds there.
No, that's all right. I mean, that's kind of what made my decision to stop watching
we got
current to get away from current wrestling is just that, this is a very niche, there's only a certain amount of people who want to hear about these old territory promotions, but the people who do love it. Why do you want to be another podcast out there shitting on Raw or AEW for that matter? There's literally a million of them.
Or jacking off to AEW. There's a difference.
Whatever, whether you hate it or you love it, you're just another face in the crowd of a million people. So fuck it. I don't want to watch it. I'm not going to force myself to sit through it so I can sit and bitch about it. And I mean, Cornette does a good job at that. Let him make the money off of it, because none of us will. So there you go. Check out that interview with Bruno and join us. We'll be back in a couple of weeks with part 3 of our Ozark Mountain Deep Dive right here on Retro Wrestling with Gene Jackson, and over on STSPOD.club. You can find on BT's feed. And before we go, I feel like BT would like to mention,
I got to say something to end it. Like, everybody knows how I ended my show, but I want a real quick shout out. Brian Thompson, my longtime friend, was one of those people that was an Ozark Mountain fan and reached out to both of us. Love you, Brian. Thanks for reaching out to us. I'm glad you're enjoying the show. We're enjoying doing it. And as everybody knows, I love my mom.